The 1970s were a battlefield for muscle cars. Some roared to glory while others crashed and burned. From gas-guzzling monsters to underpowered posers, let's dive into the champions and failures that defined an era when emissions regulations threatened to kill the American dream. Ready to find out which legends deserve your garage space and which belong in the crusher? Let's start with the 5 worst. 5 worst muscle cars. Number 5, 1977 Chevrolet Camaro LT. The 1977 Chevrolet Camaro LT was the definition of a muscle car identity crisis. Chevy slapped sporty stripes on this sad machine, but forgot to include actual muscle. Under the hood lurked a pathetic 145 horsepower, 305 cubic inch V8 that struggled to move this heavyweight contender. What was once a road warrior had been neutered by emissions regulations into a sluggish boulevard cruiser. This poor excuse for a Camaro was weighed down by massive safety bumpers and extra bulk, forcing its anemic engine to work overtime just to reach highway speeds. 0 to 60 took nearly 11 seconds, which was embarrassing for anything wearing the Camaro badge. The second-generation F-body may have looked sleek, but it was all show and no-go. Inside, cheap plastic dominated the interior with vinyl seats that cracked after minimal sun exposure. The dashboard panels frequently warped in hot weather, creating an orchestra of rattles and squeaks. Even the power steering was vague and disconnected, making the car feel like steering a boat through mud. What made this Camaro especially tragic was how far it had fallen. Just 7 years earlier, Camaros were feared street machines. By 77, they were style statements for people who didn't care about performance. Car and Driver magazine called it a shadow of its former self, while owners complained about frequent carburetor issues and electrical gremlins that plagued reliability. Despite its looks, the 77 Camaro LT represents everything wrong with 1970s muscle cars. Big promises wrapped in a package that couldn't deliver. It's a rolling reminder of how government regulations and corporate cost-cutting killed the muscle car dream. Number 4, 1974 Ford Mustang II Mach 1. The 1974 Ford Mustang II Mach 1 committed the ultimate muscle car sin. It was built on the Pinto platform. Let that sink in. America's pony car legend was now sharing DNA with Ford's economy death trap. The Mustang II Mach 1 was Ford's shameful attempt to keep the nameplate alive while completely abandoning everything that made Mustangs special. This embarrassment came standard with a wheezing 2.8-liter V6 making a pitiful 105 horsepower. Even worse, the V8 was initially unavailable until late 1975, when Ford finally offered a 302 cubic inch V8 that barely mustered 140 horsepower. The once mighty Mustang now struggled to outrun family sedans, with quarter-mile times exceeding 17 seconds. Ford marketed this imposter aggressively, plastering it with racing stripes, spoilers, and Mach 1 badges to distract from the truth. This was no muscle car. The gaudy graphics package featured a large cobra snake on the hood, which was fitting given the car was all venom, but no bite. The smaller dimensions meant less interior space, with cramped rear seats that were practically useless for adult passengers. Despite its flaws, Ford somehow sold over 175,000 units in 1974, proving that marketing could triumph over performance. Road and Track magazine charitably called it more of a sports touring car than a muscle car, which was code for slow but somewhat comfortable. The automotive press couldn't ignore the 20-second quarter-mile times and unimpressive handling. The Mustang II Mach 1 remains the black sheep of the Mustang family, a pretender that nearly destroyed the legacy of America's beloved pony car. It's a shining example of how the oil crisis and emissions regulations brought mighty muscle cars to their knees. Number 3, 1975 Pontiac Firebird formula. The 1975 Pontiac Firebird formula looked like a predator, but moved like prey. Pontiac dressed this dud in aggressive styling with hood scoops, spoilers, and racing stripes, but the performance was a complete letdown. The formula package once meant serious horsepower, but by 75, it was just an appearance package hiding automotive mediocrity. Under the hood sat a 350 cubic inch V8 that produced a shameful 175 horsepower. This was the same engine that made 300-plus horsepower just a few years earlier, now strangled by emissions equipment. The car's 0-60 time had ballooned to nearly 9 seconds, making this performance car barely faster than today's economy sedans. The Formula's quarter-mile times were almost 2 seconds slower than its pre-emissions predecessors. Quality control issues plagued these mid-70s Firebirds. The single-stage paint Pontiac used faded quickly, turning vibrant colors dull after minimal sun exposure. The vinyl tops were notorious for trapping moisture and causing rust underneath, while interior plastics cracked and warped with age. Many Formula owners found themselves replacing headliners and dash panels just a few years into ownership. Even Car and Driver magazine couldn't hide their disappointment, writing that the Formula looks like it can eat Corvettes for breakfast but struggles to outrun a Vega. Pontiac tried to compensate for the lack of power with flashy graphics and an optional shaker hood scoop that served no functional purpose beyond visual intimidation. The 1975 Firebird Formula represents the hollow promises of mid-70s muscle cars, aggressive styling wrapped around engines that had been completely defanged by emissions regulations. It's the automotive equivalent of a paper tiger, all appearance and no substance. Number 2, 1976 AMC Gremlin X. The 1976 AMC Gremlin X wasn't just a bad muscle car, it was an insult to the entire concept. AMC had the audacity to slap an X badge on this Econo box and pretend it belonged in the same category as true performance machines. This hatchback horror rode on a shortened Hornet platform and looked like it had been designed by someone who'd never seen a car before. Powering this awkward creation was a 232 cubic inch inline-six engine producing a laughable 100 horsepower. Even with the optional 258 cubic inch 6, power only increased to 110 horsepower. The Gremlin X struggled to reach 60 mph in under 12 seconds, making it one of the slowest performance cars of the decade. AMC did offer a 304 V8 option making 150 horsepower, but even that couldn't save this automotive oddity. The Gremlin's bizarre styling featured a long hood and an abruptly chopped rear end that looked like the design team ran out of paper. The X package added racing stripes, slot-style wheels, and bucket seats, but these sporty touches couldn't hide the car's economy roots. The interior was cramped, with rear seats suitable only for children or extremely tolerant adults. Road tests of the era were brutal. Motor Trend described the Gremlin X as a car with an identity crisis, while Car and Driver noted its twitchy handling and primitive rear suspension. The Gremlin's live rear axle with leaf springs created unpredictable oversteer during hard cornering, making it not just slow but potentially dangerous when pushed. Despite AMC's best marketing efforts, the Gremlin X failed to convince buyers it was anything but a budget car with sporty stickers. It represents the desperate attempts by American manufacturers to capitalize on the muscle car legacy while offering none of the performance that made those cars special. Number 1, 1978 Dodge Magnum XE. The 1978 Dodge Magnum XE takes the crown as the worst muscle car of the decade, proving that not everything with a big engine deserves respect. Chrysler created this monstrosity as a replacement for the Charger, effectively killing off one of America's most iconic muscle car names and replacing it with this Baroque-styled pretender. The Magnum came standard with a 318 cubic inch V8, making an anemic 145 horsepower, though buyers could opt for a 400 cubic inch V8 that still only produced 190 horsepower. Even with the top engine option, the Magnum XE needed over 9 seconds to reach 60 mph. This was embarrassing for a car marketed as Dodge's premier performance model, especially considering its Charger predecessors could do the same sprint in under 6 seconds. The styling was a bizarre mix of luxury and failed sportiness, with hidden headlights behind a massive grille and opera windows more suited to a personal luxury car. The massive 3,800-pound curb weight made handling sluggish, while the soft suspension turned corners into seasickness-inducing adventures. Inside, fake wood grain and crushed velour upholstery completed the confused luxury muscle identity crisis. Period reviews were merciless. Car and Driver called it a sheep in wolf's clothing, while Road and Track questioned whether Dodge remembers what made the Charger name great in the first place. Sales reflected this criticism, with the Magnum selling poorly compared to its competitors and being discontinued after just 2 model years. The 1978 Dodge Magnum XE represents everything wrong with late 70s American performance cars: bloated, underpowered, poorly handling machines that relied on styling gimmicks and heritage names to mask their fundamental inadequacies. It wasn't just a bad muscle car, it was the death knell for an era. 5 best muscle cars. Number 5. 1970 Oldsmobile 442W30. The 1970 Oldsmobile 442W30 was the gentleman's muscle car with brass knuckles in its glove box. While Chevelle and GTOs got more attention, this Olds packed a devastating punch with its 455 cubic inch V8, producing 370 horsepower and a monster 500 lb-ft of torque, the highest torque rating of any muscle car at the time. This wasn't just another GM muscle car, it was the sleeper that could embarrass the big names at any stoplight. The W30 package wasn't just an appearance upgrade. It added aluminum intake manifolds, a hotter cam, special cylinder heads, and a functional ram air system with twin scoops below the front bumper. These weren't cheap tricks, but serious performance upgrades that helped the 442 reach 60 mph in just 5.7 seconds and run the quarter mile in 14.2 seconds at over 100 mph. Inside, the 442 offered luxury that Dodge and Plymouth couldn't match, with comfortable bucket seats, real wood trim, and superior build quality. This was a muscle car you could drive cross-country without a chiropractor appointment at the end. The suspension was perfectly tuned, offering a balance between handling and comfort that made the 442 one of the best all-around performers of the era. What made the 442 special was its rarity and subtlety. Oldsmobile built only 262 W30 convertibles in 1970, making them some of the most collectible muscle cars today. A pristine example sold at Barrett-Jackson for over $250,000, proving its lasting appeal among collectors. Car and Driver magazine called it the thinking man's muscle car, praising its balance of brutality and refinement. The 1970 Oldsmobile 442 W30 represents the pinnacle of GM's muscle car engineering before emissions regulations strangled performance. It combined sledgehammer acceleration with unexpected sophistication, proving that muscle cars could appeal to more than just drag racers and teenagers. Number 4. 1971 Plymouth Roadrunner 440+6. The 1971 Plymouth Roadrunner 440+6 was pure, unfiltered aggression on wheels. While other manufacturers were already detuning engines for emissions compliance, Plymouth doubled down with the 440 six-pack, featuring 3 two-barrel carburetors gulping fuel like a marathon runner drinking water. This 440 cubic inch monster churned out 385 horsepower and 490 lb-ft of torque, enough to shred tires through 3 gears. What made the 71 special was its completely redesigned body. The new fuselage styling featured a sleeker, more aerodynamic shape with a wider stance. The Roadrunner stood out with its optional air grabber hood, which featured a vacuum-operated door that opened at the push of a button, revealing a functional cold air intake topped with a menacing shark graphic. Nothing said, "move over," like a hood scoop that appeared on demand. Behind the wheel, the Roadrunner delivered raw, visceral performance. Motor Trend testing showed 0 to 60 times of 6.5 seconds and quarter-mile runs of 14.3 seconds at 99 mph. The optional 4-speed manual transmission with Hurst pistol grip shifter made every gear change a tactile pleasure. The Roadrunner wasn't trying to be sophisticated. It was unapologetically focused on straight-line speed and street credibility. Plymouth built only 14,218 Roadrunners in 1971, with a tiny fraction equipped with the 440+6 package, making them rare finds today. Hot Rod magazine called it the last real muscle car, as it represented the final gasp of unfettered performance before emissions regulations decimated horsepower ratings across the industry. The 1971 Plymouth Roadrunner 440+6 was the working man's supercar, offering Hemi-like performance at a more accessible price. It embodied the pure, uncompromising spirit of muscle cars before the party ended, making it one of the most authentic performance machines of the decade. Number 3. 1970 Buick GSX Stage 1. The 1970 Buick GSX Stage 1 was the muscle car that nobody saw coming. Buick, known for building comfortable cruisers for doctors and lawyers, shocked the automotive world with this yellow and black terror. The GSX Stage 1 packed a 455 cubic inch V8 conservatively rated at 360 horsepower, but actually producing closer to 400. More importantly, it delivered 510 lb-ft of torque at just 2,800 RPM, giving it brutal off-the-line acceleration. Buick only offered the GSX in two colors, Saturn Yellow or Apollo White, both with bold black stripes running the length of the car. The package included a rear spoiler, hood tachometer, heavy-duty suspension, and wide oval tires on 15-inch wheels. This wasn't subtle customization, it was Buick announcing its arrival to the muscle car party with a bullhorn. Despite its luxury brand origins, the GSX was a serious performer. Car Life magazine recorded 0 to 60 times of 5.5 seconds and quarter-mile runs of 13.38 seconds at 105.5 mph, making it quicker than many Chevelles and GTOs of the same year. The combination of massive torque and surprisingly good handling meant the GSX could hold its own against any muscle car of the era. What makes the GSX truly special is its rarity. Buick built only 678 GSX models in 1970, with just 400 equipped with the Stage 1 package. This limited production has made the GSX Stage 1 one of the most valuable muscle cars ever, with pristine examples selling for over $200,000 at auction. Motor Trend called it the most underrated muscle car of all time, praising its combination of luxury and raw performance. The 1970 Buick GSX Stage 1 proved that even GM's most conservative division could build a world-class muscle car when properly motivated. It represented the perfect synthesis of luxury and performance, wrapped in a package that commanded respect at every stoplight. Number 2, 1973 Pontiac Trans Am Super Duty 455. The 1973 Pontiac Trans Am Super Duty 455 was the last true muscle car standing when all others had surrendered. While competitors were installing smog pumps and reducing compression ratios, Pontiac engineers worked miracles to keep the Super Duty 455 engine performing at near-peak levels. This 455 cubic-inch V8 still delivered 310 honest horsepower and 390 lb-ft of torque, when other manufacturers were struggling to break 200 horsepower. The SD455 wasn't just another engine option, it was practically hand-built with special reinforced blocks, forged pistons, special camshafts, and high-flow cylinder heads. Pontiac lost money on every SD455 they sold, but they built them anyway to maintain their performance reputation. The result was a car that could hit 60 mph in 5.4 seconds and run the quarter mile in 13.8 seconds at 104 mph. Numbers that would remain impressive for the next decade. Visually, the 1973 Trans Am was a stunner with its iconic Firebird hood decal, shaker scoop, and rear spoiler. The second-generation F-body styling looked sleek and aggressive, with a low stance that backed up its performance credentials. Inside, machine-turned aluminum dash panels and a formula steering wheel created a driver-focused cockpit that emphasized the car's serious intent. Pontiac built only 252 Trans Ams with the SD455 engine in 1973, making this one of the rarest and most desirable muscle cars ever produced. Car and Driver magazine called it the last of the fast ones, while Hot Rod declared it the muscle car that refused to die. Today, these cars can fetch over $500,000 at auction, reflecting their historical significance. The 1973 Pontiac Trans Am SD455 was Pontiac's middle finger to the automotive establishment, proving that determined engineers could still build tire-shredding performance even in the face of tightening regulations. It kept the muscle car flame burning when most had given up hope. Number 1, 1970 Chevrolet Chevelle SS454 LS6. The 1970 Chevrolet Chevelle SS454 LS6 wasn't just a muscle car, it was the high-water mark for the entire genre. Chevrolet stuffed a fire-breathing 454 cubic-inch big-block V8 into their mid-size Chevelle and created a legend. The LS6 version generated an astonishing 450 horsepower and 500 lb-ft of torque, making it the most powerful production car GM had ever built at the time. Everything about the LS6 Chevelle was designed for domination. It featured a cowl induction hood that opened under acceleration to feed cold air to the massive Holley 780 CFM carburetor. The heavy-duty suspension, 12-bolt rear end, and F41 handling package meant this muscle car could actually handle corners, unlike many of its straight-line-focused competitors. When equipped with the Muncie M22 Rock Crusher 4-speed manual transmission, it was pure mechanical nirvana. Performance was nothing short of spectacular. The LS6 Chevelle could rocket from 0 to 60 mph in just 5.4 seconds and demolish the quarter mile in 13.8 seconds at 108 mph. These figures were conservative, as magazine tests often recorded even quicker times. The car's performance was so dominant that some street racers would pop the hood before a race just to show the LS6 badges and watch competitors drive away. Chevrolet built only 4,475 Chevelle with the LS6 engine, making them relatively rare by muscle car standards. Today, these cars routinely sell for over $300,000 at auction, with particularly clean examples breaking the $500,000 mark. Motor Trend called it the ultimate muscle car, while Hot Rod magazine described it as the benchmark against which all other muscle cars are measured. The 1970 Chevelle SS 454 LS6 represents the absolute peak of classic American muscle car development before emissions regulations changed everything. It combined devastating straight-line performance with reasonable handling and everyday usability, creating the perfect storm of power and practicality that defined the muscle car era. The 1970s saw muscle cars rise to legendary heights before regulations nearly killed them off. From the untouchable 1970 Chevelle LS6 to the embarrassing 1978 Dodge Magnum, these cars defined automotive passion for an entire generation. Which of these beasts would you park in your dream garage? Drop a comment below and let us know if you've ever had the chance to drive any of these legends or disasters. And here's the real question. Could any modern muscle car ever capture the raw, unfiltered spirit of those early 70s monsters? Or is that era gone forever?